This is the true story of an ancient ghost that was trapped underneath the Roman Colosseum for 2,000 years. Rome is the oldest city in the world. It's been around so long that most people have forgotten it actually existed in the Middle Ages. But before it was a city of pizza and gelato, it was the home of the greatest amphitheater ever constructed, the Colosseum. This majestic building was where Christians were fed to lions, where gladiators settled scores, and where all manner of debauchery took place. And now it's also home to one very pissed-off ghost. In the summer of 1898, construction workers were restoring part of the ancient amphitheater known as the Palatine Hill, when they discovered something shocking. Beneath the foundations, hidden inside a secret passageway, was a small chamber filled with bones. Inside this chamber were 54 skeletons, all men, all bound by heavy chains, just as if they were prisoners. The bones belonged to gladiators, men who had been trained to fight and kill for the entertainment of the masses. But these men had not died in battle. They had been put to death by the Roman authorities, and sealed in this underground tomb with the single word Vindicta carved above the door. The site was immediately excavated, and the skeletons were brought to the surface. At first, no one really cared too much about their discovery. People just assumed these were some random gladiators who had kicked the bucket. However, soon strange things started happening around the dig site. First, the workers reported hearing chains dragging metal moans. Then sometimes at night, when the dig site was empty, phantom footsteps could be heard echoing across the structure. Then one night a worker was taking a break when he heard a blood-curdling scream in ancient Latin, "Today you shall die." Then out of the corner of his eye, he saw a shadowy figure holding a sword racing across the dig site. He turned to run, but tripped and fell. As he looked up, he saw another shadow standing over him. Its eyes glowed red, and it raised its sword to strike. The man screamed, scrambling away from the ghost, and didn't stop running until he reached the safety of his home. Stories like these spread like wildfire, and soon the whole city of Rome was buzzing with talk of the ghost of the Colosseum. The police thought it was all nonsense, but two men didn't. One was a local priest who believed the spirits were the souls of the damned trapped in purgatory. The other was a historian named Giuseppe Bonnibbio, who realized that this might be his chance to make a name for himself. So the historian and the priest went to the mayor and convinced him to let them reopen the dig site and search for the ghosts. They went back to the chamber with the 54 skeletons and found something strange. One of the bones wasn't a skeleton, it was a mummy. The bones of the rest of the men had disintegrated after being buried for 2,000 years. But this guy was perfectly preserved. Maybe it was because he was a particularly powerful gladiator whose spirit was strong even in death. Or maybe it was because he wasn't actually a gladiator at all, but a Roman senator named Titus Flavius Sabinus. According to legend, he was one of the richest men in Rome. A connoisseur of fine art and luxury items, he was also an evil sob who kidnapped people and forced them to become gladiators in his private arena. When the Emperor Nero came to power, he had Sabina put to death and his fortune was confiscated. There was just one problem with this, though. Sabina's family claimed he was innocent, saying that the emperor simply wanted his money and was using false charges to get it. Whatever the truth, the senator's bones were placed in the underground chamber with the gladiators, along with the inscription Vindicta, which translates to "I am seeking revenge." According to legend, the spirits of the gladiators possessed anyone who entered the tomb. The priest and the historian ignored these warnings, believing that ghosts weren't real. That's when the ghost of the Colosseum began to attack. One day, the priest was alone in the chamber when he suddenly felt a cold breeze on his neck. Turning around, he saw the shadowy figure of a man standing behind him. It was the ghost of the senator. It raised a finger and pointed directly at the priest. Then it raised its other hand and plunged it deep into the priest's chest. As the ghost pulled its hand away, a bloody knife appeared in his hand. The priest screamed, dropping the knife and falling to his knees. The ghost approached him and whispered in his ear, "It is time for vengeance." Then the ghost grabbed the priest by the collar and dragged him through the passageway, never to be seen again. Of course, this was all nonsense. Ghosts don't exist. And neither did the vengeful senator. Or so the historian thought. Now, shaken but still skeptical, the historian continued the dig and uncovered more gladiators, bringing the total number to 72. All the while, the ghost of the Colosseum continued to haunt the area, killing anyone who dared enter the chamber. People began to whisper that the ghost was not the senator, but a curse placed upon the Colosseum itself, a curse that would never end. Finally, the historian came to the conclusion that the only way to stop the ghost was to seal the chamber once again, trapping the restless spirits inside. Of course, there was one problem. The ghost of the senator didn't want to be trapped forever, and he was willing to do anything to stop the historian from leaving. Every day, the ghost would appear before him and beg him to reconsider, but the historian was adamant. He used the last of the skeletons to seal the entrance, then hurried away from the Colosseum before the ghost could stop him. But the ghost was cunning, while the historian was sealing the chamber. It had taken possession of his mind, corrupting his every thought. By the time the historian had finished his work, the ghost had complete control over him. And as soon as the last stone was set in place, the ghost of the Colosseum walked free into the streets of Rome. And there it still lurks today, an evil spirit from ancient times searching for new victims to possess. If you visit the Colosseum, you should keep your eyes open for a mysterious old man wearing a toga. That's the ghost of Titus Flavius Sabinus, and he's looking for a new body to call his own. Now watch, he opens coffin, it's possessed by demon, or check out terrifying ghost caught on camera.